Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2025. Thank you for joining us here on the Mission Ready Men podcast on the SHR Media Network. Today is January 2nd, 2025. I actually was not planning on doing a show today, but 2025 2025 has already kicked off with some major fireworks, pun intended. And since I wasn't planning on doing a show today, I didn't prepare the way I normally do. So um, this was decided at the last minute. So we're pretty much going to be winging it today. So bear with me as we try and get through some of these things that we want to talk about. Um, before we dive in, though, please do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share these episodes, comment. Apparently, commenting and interacting with the show is what the algorithm is really looking for, um, because the big tech tyrants are still trying to throttle us. Anyone with content like ours is getting shut down hard. So the more you like, subscribe, comment, and share, the more we can get the word out, and the better off we will be. And also, first and foremost, pray for us. Pray that we can pray that we can reach as many people as possible. Pray for all of us. Sackhead Sean on the Edge of Liberty, Jersey Joe with the Reaver of Common Sense, and BZ over at the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Pray that we all have a breakthrough in 2025 and reach as many people as we possibly can. But thank you for joining us here on SHR Media Network. Follow this show on all the socials, Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X if you prefer, and Truth Social. And for our merch, like this shirt right here, head over to missionreadymen.com, click shop, and check out this design and all the other great designs that we have. All right. I think that's all the business we have to get out of the way for now. So let's get after it. Now, it's only January 2nd, and there's already been some huge news kicking off. We had a terrorist attack in New Orleans, and a jihadist, an Islamic terrorist, took his pickup truck and decided to run down a bunch of people on Bourbon Street on New Year's Eve. And it's not, I mean, the investigation is still in its infancy, but there are some things that we do know. There's been a lot of footage being circulated. Oh, before we even get to that, they tried to tell us that this wasn't a terrorist attack, even though it was pretty obvious from the beginning. I haven't heard whether or not he shouted Allahu Akbar when he got out of his truck and proceeded to get shot, but it was pretty obvious. The footage of the truck, the picture of the rolled up ISIS flag. I don't think the FBI actually rolled it up. If you look at some of the footage, you can see that the flag isn't waving as he's driving. It's already wrapped up, and I think he probably wrapped it up to prevent anyone from trying to intervene, to prevent anyone from drawing attention to him because he was flying an ISIS flag. But they knew it was an ISIS flag. There's a picture on Twitter of an FBI agent having the flag laid out and taking a picture of it. So they knew. They tried to tell us it wasn't, and got smacked down pretty quickly. The footage is horrific, and there are several angles, several people have posted posted the videos of what they observed that night. It is it's horrific. It's horrific. And like I said, they tried to cover it up, tried to tell us that it um, wasn't a terrorist attack, that this guy wasn't a radical Islamist, but we excuse me, we now know that he was, and he was an Army veteran, and they excuse me, they've done interviews with people who served with him, active duty and in the reserves, who said that they never heard him say anything like that. They never heard him express any radical Islamic views. But um, there are reports that it was in his personnel records that he had been that it had been noted that he had some radical Islamic views. The conspiracy theorists will tell you that they just don't want to inflame any tensions, and they're trying to keep that quiet. That's likely. That's very likely, because even though this doesn't happen overnight, and even though he'd been discharged from the army for a while, I find it hard to believe that he got this radicalized that quickly without having had some tendencies leaning that way while he was serving in the United States Army. So, I'm sure we'll find out at some point. Probably not from the honesty of the FBI, but I'm sure we will find out eventually exactly what was going on with this guy, and they'll probably tell us that because it's not going to come from any American Pravda outlets, that it's a conspiracy theory. And then, of course, 6 months to a year later, we will find out that the conspiracy theory was actually correct. And I'm speculating right now. Obviously, it's been a day, so we'll see what transpires between now and then. But to suggest that this was to suggest that he was not radicalized while he was in the army, to suggest that they didn't know, or to suggest that they did know, is reasonable. Because we have no reason to trust anything they say. Absolutely no reason to trust anything that is coming out of their mouths at this point. Only thing we can really trust is what we see ourselves and what we reasonably can interpret from what we do see. So there's that. He had accomplices. There are reports that 3 men and 1 woman were seen placing IEDs, explosive devices, up and down Bourbon Street in the French Quarter. And the Airbnb where he was staying burned down mysteriously, or not so mysteriously. So was he covering it up? Or is the FBI or some other governmental entity covering up something? Who knows? But somebody doesn't want the full story to come out, and it's gonna take some doing. It's gonna take some digging by some real journalists, and I'm not talking about the idiots at MSDNC or CNN or any of those other American Pravda outlets. I'm talking about citizen journalists, people who actually want to get the truth out. Those people are going to have to dig and really come up with what the true story is. And the other, aside from the accomplices, aside from his hotel burning, Airbnb burning down, and stuff like that. The mosque that this guy belonged to in Houston told its members not to cooperate with authorities. Let me see if I can pull it up. Like I said, I didn't prepare the way I normally do, so I think I have it here. It might be on my other computer, but we shall see. But in the meantime, let's just consider whether or not let's consider um, how we can interpret what we're seeing so far. We had the we had an FBI field, or I think it was the special agent in charge of the New Orleans field office, try to tell us that it try to tell us that it wasn't a terrorist attack, which they had to walk back. Too bad for them. All right, here we go. So the mosque it's near the house where this guy lives. So he was a member of this mosque, and they sent this message to their readers. I'm sure many of you have heard about the tragic events that took place in New Orleans this morning that are now being classified as an act of terror by the FBI. I want to emphasize the importance of everyone to stay very vigilant and aware of your surroundings. The safety of our community is the most important thing. If anyone is contacted by the media, it is very important that you do not respond. If approached by the FBI and a response is necessary, please refer them to CARE and ISGH. I'm not entirely sure what the ISGH is. It is crucial that we stay united at this time as we condemn these terrible acts. Please stay safe. And Masjid Bilal is the name of the mosque. There is absolutely no reason why they would issue this statement unless they had some knowledge of him or the events that were about to take place, which lends credence to the conspiracy between that and the accomplices that he apparently had. There's every reason to suspect that this mosque had some members, and likely the management, maybe even the guy who signed this letter, had some involvement. And to further expound on the idea that this was a conspiracy, the Tesla Cybertruck explosion in Vegas happened just a few hours later outside of the Trump Hotel in Vegas. Elon Musk and President Trump have been very close. A Cybertruck explodes outside of the Trump Hotel on the same day, within hours of another terrorist attack in New Orleans. There is no way you can convince me that this was not planned. And when I first decided to do the show, there really wasn't a whole lot of information out there. There still isn't a lot, but we now know the suspect's name in the Vegas bombing, and they weren't going to release his name at first, and I don't know what prompted them to go ahead and do it, but now it turns out that the suspect in that bombing was a Green Beret, allegedly. And not only was he a Green Beret, but he apparently served on the same base at the same base as the terrorist in New Orleans. Another coincidence. I don't really believe, especially when it comes to stuff like this, I don't believe in coincidences. I Both Army vets, both served at the same base, initiated attacks within hours of each other. The trucks used in these incidents were in these attacks, I shouldn't say incidents. The trucks used were rented on the same app, the Turo app, which I had never heard of until yesterday. That's a lot of coincidences to just dismiss the idea that they're related. There's going to have to be a lot of evidence to the contrary to convince me that these are two isolated incidents that just happened to use the same app, that just happened to go off within hours of each other by two guys who just happened to be Army vets who happened to serve on the same base. I mean, come on. They think we're stupid. They really think we're stupid. And the other thing, the suspect in the Vegas bombing was allegedly a Green Beret. Now, I know that being a Green Beret does not automatically make you a demolitions or explosives expert. I understand that completely. But all the reports I've heard so far say that this bomb was constructed in perhaps one of the most ineffective ways possible. The truck was stuffed with gasoline canisters and camp fuel canisters and firework mortars. You would think a Green Beret would, if he was really intent on causing as much harm as possible, which if you're going to commit an act of terror, that's the goal. And so you would think if you were going to do that, a Green Beret would have done a little bit, would have been a little bit more effective. So I have questions. I don't believe, like I said before, I don't believe anything that is coming out right now. And the other thing, not only was the bomb constructed ineffectively, but the Cybertruck is built in such a way that it contained the explosion. I mean, there was no damage to the hotel at all. And you would think a Green Beret would have known that ahead of time and perhaps rented a vehicle that, now, of course, the idea is that he was trying to send a message to Trump and Elon Musk. We'll see what happens. We'll see what shakes out. But like I said, I don't believe anything coming out of these people right now. Not a thing. So we'll see what transpires there. And before we have a word from our sponsor, I said in the beginning that 2025 has kicked off with a bang, so to speak. And it's only been a day. And we have a terrorist attack in New Orleans. We have a bomb exploding in Vegas. There was a mass shooting in Brooklyn that we haven't really heard too much about. I saw the headline and then I haven't seen or heard any reporting on it yet. And then there was another mass shooting in Montenegro. Now that obviously that's not here, but it's been a day and we have at least four and probably more, at least four mass casualty incidents in a day around the world. I think I would like to think that this is just 2024 in its death throes before it kicks rocks and rides off into the sunset. That's what I'm believing right now, because if this is what we're in for 2025, wow, it's going to be uh, I don't even know what kind of year it's going to be if this is what we're in for. So I'm just believing God that that was 2024 letting us know that they were leaving, and 2025 is going to be smooth sailing going forward. But let's get a word from our sponsor real quick, because 2025 is going to be, as far as I'm concerned, 2025 is going to be a great year, because 2024 revealed a lot to us. We learned a lot about a lot of different things, especially when it comes to our food. And when it comes to the chemicals and all the trash, all the garbage, all the poison that they're putting in our food, you can't trust any of these entities right now that regulate any of that stuff. So we don't know what's in our food. We don't know what's in our beef. Well, we do, because we know that in the beef provided by My Freedom Beef, it's only the good stuff. 100% Angus cattle beef, and not just certified, but at My Freedom Beef, they have no antibiotics, no hormones, and no mRNA vaccines. My Freedom Beef cattle is raised in a pasture and grass fed. Yes, there are other beef box options out there, but only one can say that they are Patriot owned with superior 100% Black Angus genetics. Everyone deserves to be able to feed their families with meat that they can trust. So see why 20,000 Patriots a month are switching their shopping to My Freedom Beef. Check out myfreedombeef.com/Jackson and get the finest beef in America sent to your door at unbeatable prices. Before we hit the next story, I just want to say that when it comes to the new year, how we start off could be a how we start the year could be how we behave throughout the year, and how things go for us throughout the year. And so I don't do New Year's resolutions. I haven't in a long time, and especially now that I became a Christian, I don't do I don't do that. I just try to live my life the way God wants me to live. And the new year is a time to reflect on what transpired in the previous year, and make some changes if necessary. Nobody's perfect. Everybody can improve. And when it comes to when it comes to the way we live our lives and the way we worship God, if you're a Christian, um, I like to I like to start my day reading the Bible and in prayer. And if you're not a Christian, I suggest that you try it. Pick up a Bible, start reading. A lot of people have come to know God by just picking up a Bible for the first time and reading and believing and asking God to reveal Himself to them. And that that's not my testimony. You know my testimony. You can go back and look at um, some of my previous shows to find that out. I'm not gonna get into it right now because that's not what this is about. But but it's January 2nd, and so my suggestion, I don't want to say advice, but my suggestion is, if you're looking for a way to improve your life, um, if you're looking for something different, if you're not a Christian, if you haven't read the Bible, I suggest you give that a chance, um, because I can guarantee that it will be the best thing you ever do, and it'll be the best way it'll be the best way to kick off 2025. And 2025 will be a great year if you allow it to be. And I'm not saying that things aren't going to go wrong if you start trying to seek God and things like that. Things will. There are circumstances beyond our control when it comes to things like that we just have to deal with. But with the help of Almighty God, dealing with those things becomes so much easier. And the things that may have bothered you, that may have caused you to get angry, the things that may have caused you to be fearful, to panic, whatever, are just not as important anymore. And even though bad things may happen, illness, injuries, um, anything, even though those things will happen, it it won't affect you the way it may have in the past without a relationship with God. So that's my advice for 2025, and I pray that you take it. All right. Um, because we didn't prepare the way we normally do for the show, we may not go the full hour. We'll see what happens. Depends on how long-winded I get on some of these other things. But one of the other things that's happening, um, it started at the end of the year, and it's carried over obviously into this year, and that is the Speaker Mike Johnson. He is he is about to be well. There's about to be a vote for the Speaker of the House on Friday. I am not a huge fan of Mike Johnson. I had high hopes for him, and I've talked about this before. I had high hopes for Johnson when he was elected Speaker, and he quickly disappointed me. But at the same time, he is the Speaker of the House right now. He has pledged to to do everything he can to advance Trump's agenda. President Trump won the election. He won the popular vote. He won the Electoral College. Republicans have the majority in the House and Senate. It is his duty to do everything he possibly can to advance Trump's agenda, to get it through. Trump won with a mandate, and he deserves to have his agenda pushed through. And Johnson has pledged to get it passed. But there are some Republicans out there who are making noises suggesting that they won't vote for him. And even though they have a majority, it's a slim one. I think he can only afford to lose one or two Republican votes. Actually, I think, yeah, one or two Republican votes he can afford to lose, um, and still retain speakership. Because otherwise, we will have Speaker. Um, oh, I can't even think of his name. I call him Timu Obama. I can't I can't think of his real name because I call him that so much. Anyway, we'd have a Democrat speaker with a Republican majority in the House, and that just will not work. And guys like Chip Roy, who I'm a big fan of. He's not my representative, but he is a representative here in Texas. I'm a big fan of his. And he's been making noises that he will not vote for Johnson. And his reasoning is understandable, but with the slim majority that we have in the House, to go through that fight right now, to cause that fight right now, is stupid. And as good a representative as he is, if he does that, and Thomas Massey's another one who I'm also a fan of, if they torpedo Johnson's chances to maintain the speakership, they will get primaried and they will most likely lose. And who knows if we would get two other people as good to represent those districts if they when they lose their seats. It's their responsibility right now to make sure that Trump's agenda gets passed. And I mentioned this on BZ's show on New Year's Eve, and I've said this many times before in different contexts, but Republicans need to take a page out of the left's playbook. Because when the left has an agenda, when they have a goal, they are in lockstep. And anyone who steps outside of it, anyone who makes noises contrary to that agenda, they get smacked down. And it doesn't happen often. So Republicans need to take a page out of that playbook. And I'm all for robust debate. I'm all for differing opinions. But at the end of the day, especially in a fight like this, when the numbers are so razor thin, I don't want to use the term fall in line, but you gotta get behind the agenda. You gotta get behind Johnson. You gotta get behind Trump. And once things settle down, if you want to have that fight again, and we have a larger majority, fine. But right now, when we have a one or two, I think a 1-seat lead or a 2-seat lead, we can't have this fight. We cannot afford to have this fight. And like I said, I'm all for robust debate. I'm all for disagreement, but when push comes to shove, getting the agenda through is what matters. And once everything gets settled, and then you want to have different policy debates, fine. I can live with that. But when it comes to getting this stuff passed, when it comes to getting President Trump's agenda and legislation through, now is not the time for a fight like we had with Kevin McCarthy a couple of years ago. We just cannot go through that. We cannot go through that. So my advice, my plea for Chip Roy and Thomas Massey and Victoria Spartz and all the other ones who've been making noises about not supporting Speaker Johnson, stow it. Vote for Johnson, get him in there, and then have that fight at a later date. And who knows, maybe this is Johnson playing politics, and he's just trying to go along to get along for the time being until Trump takes the oath. And I don't necessarily like that, but at the same time, it just is what it is at this point. It just is what it is, and you gotta just go with it until such time as it makes sense to rock that boat. So I here's hoping they take my advice. All right. Um, couple of lighter note things before we get you out of here. We may get you out of here a little in a little under an hour. We'll see. But yesterday I was watching the Texas Longhorns. I am a huge Longhorns fan. Have been since before I moved to Texas. Um, just always been a fan of the Longhorns. Earl Campbell. I think he was the one that got me into the Longhorns when I was a kid. But regardless, being a Longhorns fan is hard work. If you watched that game yesterday, you were thinking in the first half, oh, they got this. This is gonna be light work. And of course, in the third quarter, and if you've been following the Longhorns, you know this to be true. The third quarter, they just seem to just disappear and take their foot off the gas and let the other team back in the game. And of course, that's what happened. Man, that was tough to watch. It really and they've had games like that all season long, and it's just been an emotional roller coaster watching the Longhorns try to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. My goodness. But now they're playing Oregon. No, now they're playing Ohio State. That's going to be a tough game. And a lot of times with the Longhorns, they play down to their opponent's level, and that gets them into trouble. They have tended to rise to the occasion when it comes to some of the more elite teams, except for Georgia. But we won't go there. So I'm still hopeful that they can make it to the national championship and beat Ohio State. And chances are they will meet Georgia for a third time in the national championship if they do get past Ohio State. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun college football playoff. If you've paid attention to this show for any length of time, you know I haven't watched the NFL in years, ever since Colin Kaepernick and everything that surrounded that nonsense. I haven't watched the NFL since. I haven't watched really any professional sports since, except for NASCAR, and even that has been dicey in some circumstances. But yeah, hook 'em, baby. Let's get it. I would love to see the Longhorns win the national championship, um, but we'll see. All right, a couple other things I wanted to get to. President, outgoing President Joe Biden has decided to bestow the second highest civilian honor on a couple of people who are deserving of nothing of the sort. And I am talking about Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, and Benny Thompson. Biden has decided that they are deserving of what's it called? A Presidential Citizens Medal. These two were the ringleaders, along with Adam Kinzinger. I'm surprised he's not in this mix. These two were the ringleaders of the January 6 hearings, and this is nothing more than a kick in the groin to President Trump on his way out. because and I believe this is true. President Trump has said these people belong in jail. I believe that's true, and Biden is going to give them the Presidential Citizens Medal, and apparently that's happening today. People who fought for marriage equality, a pioneer in treating wounded soldiers, Ted Kaufman, Chris Dodd. This is his prerogative. He can award this medal to whoever he believes is deserving. That's his right as the president of the United States. But Benny Thompson, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and all the other ones. This was the hearings on January 6th on that incident were a sham. And now they have deleted all the information that they gathered. They basically just threw away evidence. They destroyed evidence. And they destroyed it because they knew that it was going to paint them in a negative light, and it was going to prove what President Trump and everyone else has said about those hearings, that it was a farce. The final report from that committee said that Trump criminally engaged in a multi-part conspiracy to overturn the lawful results of the election that he lost, allegedly, to Biden, and failed to act to stop his supporters from attacking the Capitol. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous that those hearings were allowed to take place in the first place, or allowed to go on as long as they did. And then to destroy the evidence that they gathered before anyone else could really see it. I mean, what are they hiding? But yet, this guy is going to give them the Presidential Citizens Medal. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's a kick in the groin to Trump as Biden leaves the White House. It's the double barrel middle finger, as Dan Bongino likes to say, and that's exactly what it is. Just ridiculous. All right. Last thing before we go. Told you it was going to be a fairly quick show today. But the last thing I want to hit is, there's an idiot that you may or may not have heard of by the name of Mark Lamont Hill. He is a professor, I believe, at Temple. I can't remember what his discipline is, what he teaches at Temple University, other than racism, I guess, and how to be an anti-Semite, because that's exactly what he is. And I'll prove that to you here in a second. But this is a panel discussion that he had, and I think this is Mehdi Hassan that he's actually, I suppose I should pull it up and show it to you. This is a panel discussion with that's Mehdi Hassan, that's Rashida Tlaib, I think that's Cori Bush. I'm not sure who this is, but just based on the dress, you can be fairly certain that she's another anti-Semite. And all these people, all of them, every last one of them is an anti-Semite. But let's listen to what
Why won't
Hamas
surrender? Do you call for Hamas to surrender? Why didn't you talk about Hamas in your wonderful remarks?
All right, I'll be literally 1 minute. Okay, I didn't mention Hamas in my remarks because the question was about Black Palestinian solidarity throughout history. Hamas is not that old, 1987, right? So that's why. I feel like we have this reflexive tick in American media and politics, so we have to say, "But Hamas, what about Hamas? What about Hamas? Denounce Hamas," right? And I think that it's unnecessary and it's excessive. That does not mean that we don't have critiques of Hamas, but let's be very clear: Hamas hasn't surrendered because they're still under brutal occupation.
Oh,
Hamas hasn't surrendered because Israel has never given the Palestinian people 1 minute, 1 second self-determination, freedom, or liberation. Even after they left ostensibly in Gaza in 2005, 2006, they simply occupied it by bordering land, air, sea, electromagnetic sphere, everything, right? I mean, literally, right? I mean, Palestinians they don't control what goes in, what goes out, etc. And so when you talk about Hamas or you talk about October 7th, we also have to talk about October 6th because history didn't start on October 7th, right? And so my moral code is that you don't kidnap innocent people and that you don't kill civilians.
Well, isn't that magnanimous of you? I mean, this guy.
All right, that's fine. We can have that conversation. I'm not without a critique of Hamas, but as a non-Palestinian, which is why I was a little reluctant to answer the question, it is not my job to tell people how to liberate themselves.
What? Come on. This guy, I mean, whatever you think of, whichever side you fall on, whether you think Israel is occupying Gaza, which they're not, or that was just a nonsensical statement. Pretty much everything he says right here is nonsensical, but let's continue.
It is not my job to tell people how to get free. And the question presumes, and it's undergirded by a kind of Orientalist, white supremacist idea that Palestinians are these unyielding, barbaric, uncivilized, pre-modern people who are incapable of negotiation.
And there it is, of course. White supremacy. It's always white supremacy with this guy. And we're talking about people of Middle Eastern descent, Israelis and Palestinians. Where's the white supremacy? Who are the white supremacists in that scenario? Like I said, everything he says right here is nonsensical.
When Palestinians stand up and walk straight and march, they shoot them down. Look at the March of Return. When you have a general strike like the Great Revolts from 1936 to 1939, the revolts from 36 to 39, the strike was from October of 36 to April of 36, October of 36, they still killed them, right? When Palestinians negotiate, they take the land. When Palestinians, it's just like black folk. You pull your pants up, they shoot you. You put on the tie, they shoot you, right?
How is this guy a professor? I really don't understand.
Mark, it's 1:52 and I feel you're building, and I got to.
No, I'm not building. I'm done. Not building.
I love it, but
so the point is, you can. There is room in a political discourse to have a critique of Hamas, but they are a democratically elected organization that has been systematically undermined.
Democratically elected.
So if we're going to have the conversation about Hamas, don't just talk about them like they're some irrational, crazy people against the backdrop of Israeli settler states that sexually abuse people, that steal land, that kill people, that never hold on to a treaty. So let's have a real conversation. If we're going to talk about Hamas, let's have a real conversation about Hamas, not the neoliberal,
Once again, like I said, I told you I was gonna prove to you that he's an anti-Semite, and the last few seconds of that clip proved it. And I don't have the picture in front of me, but there is a picture, several pictures of Mark Lamont Hill, and he has a tattoo on, I believe, his left arm of a person with a keffiyeh around his face, where you can see his eyes, and a keffiyeh raising the peace symbol. The only people who wear keffiyehs are Palestinian terrorists. And he has a tattoo of one of them on his arm. And if you scroll through his Twitter feed and his Instagram feed, because I was actually looking for some other pictures of that tattoo, and I couldn't find it. But I wasn't sure if the tattoo was real when I first saw it, but the picture that I found was from a photo shoot for a magazine story, and I can't remember the name of the magazine or anything like that right now. But this guy is a raging anti-Semite, and he deserves to have. Anyway, he deserves to not be paid attention to in any capacity whatsoever. None. Everything this guy says, I never paid attention to anything he said before. When I would watch him, on debates, on different panel shows and stuff like that, I would go into it knowing that he was going to say something ridiculous, and he always did, just like that. Anyway, folks, that is all I got for you right now. Happy New Year. I will try to do better in the coming year. But that's all I got for you right now. So please remember to hit the like button, subscribe, share these episodes, comment on these episodes. That's how if you share and comment, that's how we will circumvent the algorithm that they're using to suppress our content. Because we want to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and a message of hope and liberty to as many people as we possibly can. We want to preserve it for the future generations of this country. And if you like the shirt I'm wearing, like I said, head over to missionreadymen.com, click shop, and check out all of the great designs that we have that show a message of faith and patriotism. missionreadymen.com, shop. But as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.